Okay, so this was a little fun project I've just done recently. I was contacted by an old customer saying he's got a Blues Junior and he would like to have an effects loop fitted, and had been told by another tech that they weren't able to fit an effects loop because there wasn't enough space in the chassis, which immediately sounded like a challenge to me. So there definitely isn't space in the chassis for fitting a normal effects loop. So what I've done is fitted a Hammond box with an effects loop down there in the back. Made a nice little faceplate for it, so it looks proper. What I've used there is it's a Tubetown effects loop board. They're pretty well priced for what you get. If you can probably notice, I've actually changed a lot of parts on it. I don't use the caps they supply because they trim the base off too much. So I've changed the caps to get it more transparent on the base side. I've also, that little mica cap there is a bright bypass cap that comes with the kit. But what I've done is I've just wired it up to a pot so it's variable. So when I flick between the on and bypass, I can actually just set it so that the brightness is exactly the same as the bypass signal. And that's pretty easy to do. It's at the back of the amp there because once it's set, they shouldn't really need to adjust it. But I know this customer likes things quite bright, so what we'll do is maybe fiddle with it when they're here just to see what they actually want to do. The thing about this effects loop is it's been driven straight off the triode plate over there. The signal coming off the plate is way too high for the effects loop as well, so I've had to attenuate it before the effects loop. I've done that on the board. It's pretty easy to do it and worked well. So that's just a warning. If you can't just plug up the stock Tubetown board onto that triode, otherwise you'll blow things up. You'll see, let's see if I can even get it in there. There is actually a ground lug there, so the chassis, the Hammond chassis, is actually connected with a wire straight to the chassis of the amp as well, just to keep that safety ground continuity there. Right, and then looking inside the amp, that's the triode is all coming off there. Now, one of the things with this board is, as you can see, it's been rewired. I think that was done by Andy at Rat Amps, and it's a fine job. And if I could have, I would have liked to have removed the board to wire in the effects loop, but it looks like, well, I think someone has glued these knobs on, which has made it pretty much impossible to remove them, which makes removing the board pretty much impossible. I was told I could use a Dremel tool to cut them off, but hell no, we're not going anywhere near that. So what I've done is I've just connected to the surface points on the board. So I've come off this filter cap here, which is that brown wire. That's my power supply going to the board. This blue wire running up here earths to the back of the caps there. So that's a power supply to the board, and the signal is over here. If I could have taken the board off, I would have taken this cap out and connected to these 2 points here, but I just had to snip that cap out. I've attached the cap straight to the plate, and I've attached the return from the loop is coming into R18 on this amp. And that seems to have all worked quite well. Really pleased with the results of that.